Hi, I'm Cheryl Brunette, and today I'm going to show you how to identify mystery yarns. They are those yarns without ball bands that end up at garage sales or in thrift stores or just at the bottom of your stash and you can't remember what they were. There are a few strategies we can use to help us figure out what they really are made out of. Let's get started. The first thing I do is both look at the yarn and feel it to get a sense of what it might possibly be. This very first one on top is so soft and it has quite a bit of sheen to it. It is a tussa silk, and usually we think of silk as having, being very smooth, but this particular one has a lot of halo to it. Let's see if you can, well, that's tacky looking. There it is. See all that fuzz that's coming off of it? It's just a lovely thing, and I happen to know what this one is. Wools and silks and acrylics tend to feel warm and sometimes soft, sometimes not soft, but they are not good heat conductors. So therefore, it doesn't take the heat away from your hand, whereas something like cotton is a very good heat conductor, and that's why you wear it in the summer, right? It wicks the heat away from your body. And this feels much cooler than either the silk or this wool or even this acrylic. Now, here's something that is kind of interesting. The wool and acrylic, the acrylics have gotten really much better nowadays than they used to be. And this feels, if I just close my eyes and feel both of them, this actually feels a little bit softer. This is a very old, this is probably 40 years old. It was from my mom's stash. But when I look closely at it, this has a bit of a sheen to it, and this is very matte, very flat. It doesn't reflect back the light to me. So that is one giveaway. This sheen is one giveaway to me that this might be a synthetic rather than a wool, a natural fiber. Now this is the same yarn. These are both Red Heart Super Savers, and I use this stuff when I make the braided balls for little toddlers especially. This is very soft. This, just feeling it, I know it's plastic, but I don't think acrylic is plastic, but you know what I mean. I can tell that it's synthetic. It's very harsh. And it's not harsh like wool is harsh. In fact, it even feels a little bit cool. I love to use this color in those balls because it allows me to bring in different color strips, but I would never use this probably to make any kind of garment. Let's see what else we have. Well, this is obviously wool because it smells even a little bit of lanolin. It is a hand spun. It is thick and thin. It's very soft. I realize that I have more years of experience with fiber identification and playing with them than most of you have even been alive. So that puts me at a real advantage for identifying things. But something like this you would be able to see right away, I'm sure. And these are these are genuine mystery yarns. This one is absolutely awful to the touch. It really does feel like spun plastic. And I think, and I bought it for, I think it was 6 balls for $5. It's got a whole bunch of mileage on it. You can see yardage for those of you who are more specific. And my friend who had it in her farm stand where I bought it said that she thought it was a project for making rugs. And I liked all the colors and it was cheap. So I said, okay, I'll pick that up because it's kind of an interesting thing, even though the feel was bad. And after working with it, or by playing with it and trying to identify it and seeing how harsh it really is, I think the only good thing for this is to crochet deer fence out of it. Those of you who don't know what deer fence is, it's when you live in the country and you plant your gardens and the deer come in and absolutely mow down your green beans and strawberries. They will kill for strawberries. They love them. So you have to put up a kind of barrier. And I kind of thought it would be cool to do a rather ornate crocheted fence. Wouldn't that be cool? So anyway, I know this is a synthetic, but I don't know too much more than that. These two, this one I pretty much guessed. These were given to me. This one I pretty much guessed. This sure feels like wool, but it isn't necessarily. It could be a blend. So it feels, it's been worked and it's been unwound. It was unraveled and then wound into this tight ball, so it's a little bit distorted because it's been stretched so hard to get those kinks out of it, but it feels like wool to me. This was the one that I really couldn't quite nail. It's lightweight for the volume, which I always think of as wool, tending to be like that. It certainly feels warm, but it could be an acrylic, and it could be a blend. So after I do that inspection, I go, okay, I think this one's probably wool, and this one's probably wool or something else, and this one we don't even worry about that. The next thing you can do after you've examined it, both by looking at it and feeling it, is to do a burn test. I put a number of known commodities on this that I did a burn test with, just so I could make sure that I was doing a little bit of a scientific study. This one's 100% wool, even though it's spun, so it's kind of fuzzy, and I thought that that would burn in a hurry. As it turns out, it did not. It was a slow burner. Here's 100% wool. Here is 50% wool and 50% cotton, 20% wool, 80% acrylic, 100% acrylic, 100% cotton, and then some stash yarn that I found that's lofted acetate. It's actually an acetate rayon, and that stuff was actually scary when I burnt it. When you're going to do a burn test, you should use a lighter rather than a match, because part of what you're going to measure is the smell. And the match is so strong that you can't always smell what's under it. Now, I am not going to burn all of these for you. And notice I'm holding it with tweezers. Don't hold it right in your hand, because some of this stuff burns really fast. See, that wants to go pretty fast. However, ooh, it smells like burning hair. But notice, even though it's got a lot of fuzz, which gives it it looks like a combustible, it really should go, it burnt out right away. And the reason it did that is wool just doesn't want to burn. And if I were to squish that right now, all that would just crumble into ash, which I should do, but then I make a mess over here. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. This 100% wool did the same thing. This wool and cotton burned, and I couldn't tell from the smell, because cotton and rayon and cellulose fibers smell like paper. I mean, rayon, after all, was made from wood pulp, except not this acetate rayon, but that regular viscose rayon. So that's the first distinction, is the smell, also the ash. This is 80% acrylic, and notice there's a really hard bead. Here, there's nothing left at the end. Your natural fibers just kind of dissolve. There's some charring. This one was burnt at that end. See how the 100% wool, it doesn't even have anything left over. Whereas this has got that's melted plastic right there for you. Here's, again, 100% acrylic. Again, there's a big knob at the end. And it also left a knob down here. This was 100% cotton, and it, again, disappeared into, smelled like paper burning, literally did smell like paper burning, and it left just soft ash. This acetate was the scary one. I don't know if you can see this, but it actually burned and left a tail of plastic. It was really scary. It went really fast. It's got a hard bead there, and it like glommed onto there, and I pulled it, and it left a piece of plastic stretching. Ew. This was the harsh mystery fiber, and it left a little puddle of green, the same color green, maybe darker, because of course it had the charring. So that's a little piece of plastic, harder than heck. It won't break like that other stuff. And mystery fiber number 2 is the one I suspected might be wool. Did this. It smelled like wool. So I thought, okay, at least it's got some wool content. Maybe it's a blend. And this one, which I was pretty sure was wool, it was entirely smelled. It just went, it burned. Let me try this one again. Because this too has a lot of loft, so you would think that it would burn. Whoa. I had to shake that a little. That one did want to burn. When it's knitted, watch this. Let's go ahead and break that all apart. Yoo-hoo. Just breaks all apart. Don't do this at home. See, it just comes down into ash. It doesn't leave any chunks of anything. Okay, so that might give you not only information about what the fiber is, but it might make you consider what you're making garments out of. Because when my son was little, I did not want him to wear acrylic because our main source of heat, and my main source of heat now, even today, is a wood stove. So there's fire, and I didn't want him to be around fire with synthetics, but that's a personal choice. Okay, so once I did the wool test, I did something I had never tried before, and that's the put it in bleach test. I found this process absolutely fascinating, partly because I'd never done it before. I took these 7 pieces of yarn and soaked them in just regular household bleach. On the left is 100% wool. Next to it is 100% wool. The pink long piece is 50% wool, 50% cotton. That big fat fuzzy piece in the center is the 20% wool, 80% acrylic. Then there is the mystery deer fencing yarn, plasticky stuff, is that little pale green one. And then mystery yarn that Cheryl doesn't know what it is, but she thinks it's not really synthetic. And then the far right one is white, and that's what another mystery yarn, which I think is wool. I put them in a small glass container of bleach. I put about, a half an inch of bleach at the bottom. And instantly, things started to bubble. You can see some of that bubbling here. I put them in with tweezers. I didn't want to touch that stuff. This is not even 10 minutes into it. You can see that all those individual fibers on the sort of dark maroon wool have already been eaten up. The green piece of wool still is fairly intact. The acrylic one is bubbling like crazy, and my theory is that because it has 20% wool on the inside of it, that is bubbling to get out. Old plastic is hanging in there. Only 10 minutes later, and you can see that the maroon one has started to break up. And the little orange piece that's over in the upper right-hand corner next to the white fat one is really almost gone. Again, a little bit later, by this time, this isn't even a half an hour into it, I don't think. The green is just disintegrating. That's 100% wool. That one is almost gone. The cotton and wool is still hanging in here, as is the acrylic. The little green, the little orange one is gone. It's been dissolved. So the ones that were the most susceptible were the ones that we suspect are 100% wool. Then we got down to what is left. There are only 3 things left. Acrylic, plastic, I shouldn't say that. I don't know what it's made out of, but it is definitely rough. And the cotton wool blend. And when I got to that point, it had been over an hour, actually about an hour and a half, and I still had these pieces left. So I pulled them out and put them on this plate. I did not rinse them so that the chlorine bleach was able to continue its process with them. And this is what I had left. Here's the green one. It is really quite intact. It has a lot of halo on it to it. The bleach just didn't even touch it. So this, I know, is a synthetic, and I'm not too worried actually about crocheting. This was informative because if I am going to crochet part of a fence or part of a gate to go into our garden, then this is kind of cool because I think that this will withstand some sunlight. This is the acrylic that was left. It's quite fluffy. This is the 80% acrylic. The wool, its structure has been destroyed, of course, because the wool bubbled out of it. And this has no color left, and it's really very brittle. It just is falling apart. But what that is what's left of the cotton in that wool and cotton 50-50 blend. I thought it was a fascinating exercise, even though it didn't smell good. I finally put it out in the shed because I didn't want to smell it in the house. So there you have it, some strategies that will help you identify the fiber content of the yarn that you're using. They aren't foolproof, especially with blends, but they're good enough that it can give you a start on figuring out what to do with this unidentified yarn that you found. Until I see you again, be brave and enjoy your knitting. Let me write that down. Oh, the pen flew. Oh no, my pen flew across the floor. The first thing I do is employ both my senses of sight and I was going to say sound, but the yarn is not talking today. Okay, back up. Get serious, Brunette, will you?